Good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Cohn, and you are watching the DMLC Racing Channel. Tonight, we are doing something a bit special here, in that I'm trying something a bit new, in that we are doing a preview of the Lionheart IndyCar Series at Watkins, Glen using the Dallara IR18. That is going to be raced tomorrow, and it will be broadcast on the iRacing Esports Network by Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, this track, it's definitely a lot of elevation changes, very technical, lots of high speed, but lots of slow speed corners as well. And this car, the IR18, differs greatly from the Lotus 79 that was raced last week, because there is a lot more downforce in the high speed corners. You can tell the grip, there's just so much more speed over that 40-year difference. At the same time, those slow speed corners, the mechanical grip, there's hardly any, and that coupled with the much higher horsepower, well, let's check it out because it's definitely something to behold. Alright, get the car started and let's get out of the pits here. Now, the pit lane, one thing I can say about that, if you're rushing out of there, you got to be so careful with this right-hander, because I still remember 2017 IndyCar champion Joseph Newgarden actually crashed exiting pit road. That pretty much ended his race. So that pit road exit, definitely. And then coming into the S's, the awesome thing about this is probably the best passing zone on the track, in that you go through the S's, just floor the whole way through. Even if you're behind someone, that draft, the wash, isn't going to be enough to push your car wide, because the car has that grip in the S's. And then you're going up to the chicane, of course, the bus stop, which I'll stop here for a second actually, because I can tell you right now, you'll want to try and set up your pass before entering the bus stop. It's very, very hard to go too wide through there. I mean, they've tried it in the past. I can think of the NASCAR Busch Series race in 2006. Robbie Gordon just dive-bombed Kurt Busch in that chicane on the final lap. They door-banged like crazy, made it through. But remember, that's NASCAR where you can bump and bang. Indy cars, it's not a good idea. So with these cars especially, you're really going to want to try and line it up before entering the bus stop. And the braking point of the bus stop, it's amazing just how much technology has changed these cars, because you're not going at the 400, not 300, not 200, but you're going to be actually braking at the 100 mark, going from 6th gear to 4th only. And then you'll want to try and line up these curbs, not use too much of them, because that can really upset the car. And if you're not careful going through here, I mean, 2000 in the NASCAR, it was then Winston Cup Series. It was Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator, one of the best drivers of all time. He actually spun through this portion and hit that wall dead ahead of me, that was on lap 1 of that race. So, what does that tell you about how difficult this portion is? Now, I know it might be a bit more fun if it was straight line, but for me, I totally respect why they did this, because around 1991, there was the fatal crash of J.D. McDuffie, as well as Tommy Kendall's horrible sports car crash that really messed up his legs, so I understand why they did those safety changes. Right, so now this right-hander... Well, if it was in the retro car, you'd be braking into here, but instead you're almost going flat out. You're just going up through the gears, going through 4th gear. I like to keep it right towards this yellow line up until the end, where you can just start kissing that curb there, and then you continue carrying that speed up until about here, where you brake, go all the way down to 2nd. Again, I like to hug the yellow line until the exit. There's many different driving lines, but that's just what worked for me. Again, track out. And then you're just going to go flat out. Again, not the 300, not the 200, but because of these new brakes, all the way to the 100 marker, until you brake and then go into 2nd. Now, I like to keep it towards the yellow, of course, but I also like to use this patch over here because I feel like there's plenty of grip to work with. Exiting a corner, of course, tracking out again. You're going to be going flat out for a long period of time. Definitely some high speed through here. And, yep, you guessed it, very late braking again. Now, in this corner, in the retro car, it's so easy, the low 79 I mean, it's so easy to lock the brakes and just mess up this corner completely. In the IR18, I didn't suffer that problem. However, you have to be careful because the problem I find with the mechanical grip in the IR18 is if you get off, it's lift off oversteer essentially. If you get off the gas or just keep touching it, which is a mistake I've made before, you're likely to spin it out. So I usually use second through here, but you're going to want to be careful on that gas on exit because while there's grip early on with these tires, you can still risk looping it if you're not careful. And over up ahead, this corner I think tomorrow is going to be the point where you see the most wrecks. You can build up speed coming into here. However, on corner entry, if you lift at the wrong time, if you manipulate the brakes just wrongly, you can see my tire tracks, of course. It is so easy to loop it, and there is a bit of runoff point, but you see those barriers over there. So I just found second gear was great to use, but at the same time be so careful because this is a very tough corner. Now out of here, again, I'm going to build up more speed now. You can essentially go almost flat out in fourth to the last corner, and then that last corner, brake right at the end of the tire barriers, use third. Alright, and let's do a hot lap here. Fourth. I'm going to go into fifth past the start finish, and then that 100 marker. Second gear, kiss that curb a wee bit, not too much. Use all the track there. You can use all of that. A bit past it, that can be off track if you're not careful. The S's, as I was saying before, flat out. We're going to go all the way to over 170 already. The low of the 79 could only do about 160, and that wasn't with that chicane. Okay, 100 mark. Fourth gear, I used that curb. You don't want to use too much curb. And now again, fourth gear just flat out up until about now. Second, again, using the heck out of that apex. I love those yellow lines. It's just a good tracking point. It's amazing just how late you can brake here. Alright, use the tarmac for that grip. And again, late braking, it's unbelievable how much you can get away with. Oop, started to get a bit loose there. Now the tough corner. Just be so careful. It's so easy to get it loose. That was a bit slow, I know, but it's tough. Just about flat out here. Third. Okay, that's one lap. Let's see if I can do a better one for y'all. Past the start finish line, lap number 2. Okay, really used the heck out of that corner there. It's amazing how the car just digs into that banking and grips. Late braking. More curb than I wanted there, but I still made it work. Okay, now we're tracking out of that corner. Hard work with this car, that's for sure. Good apex. And now Calamity Corner. Still not great through there, but something. Oh. Bit wide. Alright, that was not great, but it was better than the previous one.
3, 2.
Alright, let's park it over here. Whew. Yep. This car, what can I tell you? It's so tough to master on these road courses. My best time is, 127.7. That's really not the fastest. But to think, people, the likes of Sage Karam, who is competing tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm not able to. I had some prior commitments come up. But like Sage Karam, these fast guys, 1 minute 24s, 1 minute 25s. Last week, the fast times were about 10 seconds slower. 40 years, 10 seconds. That's unbelievable. Plus, there is the fact that fuel strategy might come into play because you can only do about 12, 13 laps of tank, so it's at least a 2-stop race, 37 laps. 12, 13 laps, you're really going to have to try and figure out that good timing to make sure you can make it to the end. But either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. Anyways, as I was saying before, the Lionheart IndyCar Series is competing tomorrow. I will have the link to the broadcast below in the links. And this has been another episode of the DMLC Racing Channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Mark Cohn. Have a very good evening now.